all hear me okay? Okay, delighted to be here with you all in New York, and I hope you've been enjoying this interesting week. It's coming louder. Is that better? Can you hear it okay? Can you hear me at the back? More? How's that? Good? Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm here from Barefoot College, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are, our unique education model, how we do it, how we're scaling our impact, and how you can help. So, if I start off, we're a 45-year-old not-for-profit social enterprise, originally out of Rajasthan, the desert, in Telonia, in India. Today, we have a global footprint across the world, in Latin America, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands. We have a unique education model, whereby we transfer technology to illiterate and semi-literate women, whose communities we work in conjunction with to help raise their economic level out of extreme poverty. The communities that we're working with basically live on $1.50 a day or less. And it's the grandmas who we train, the 30 to 50-year-olds. And the reason we train these women is because they're the ones who are brought into their communities, and they're the ones who go back to their communities. Yes, we did try to train men, but all they wanted was a certificate to run off to the nearest city with. We tried to train younger women as well, and I'm afraid they were equally selfish. But the older women always went back, and every single solar engineer we have trained has gone back to her community. This is one of the women who comes to India. Now, another interesting thing about the women, and I'm sure most of you have probably seen some of these statistics. McKinsey came out with a report in, I believe it was September 2015, and they looked at, for every dollar earned in the developing world, how much a man gave back to their family and how much a woman gave back to their family. A man gave back, and there was a slight variation, but it was between 30 cents and 40 cents in a dollar to the family. The woman, 80 to 90 cents to the family. So that starts to show you that it can make a big economic difference. Now, as we're here in New York, although, I just have to press it harder, although you've seen this several times already today, I just wanted to put this up because, again, when this came out, something else that happened in September 2015, the sustainability goals were announced. We at Barefoot were very interested because across our programs of solar, water, children's education and livelihood development, we actually touch on 14 of these sustainability development goals, which I think you'll agree is quite a lot. Sorry, this is temperamental. So what do we do? How do we do it? So we take these women to the Barefoot College in Telonia in India for 6 months, where we train them to be solar engineers. These, as I mentioned, are illiterate and semi-literate women, but it doesn't mean they're not intelligent. And they learn by color coding and repetition, so that they are in a position to go back to their communities where they will build, install, and maintain the equipment. Now, all of the equipment that they work with, every household that is solar electrified, agrees that they will pay a proportion of what they used to spend on kerosene, candles, batteries, into a community fund, which is used to pay the salaries of the solar engineers and also to save up for spare parts as and when are necessary. So batteries tend to be about 5 years, for instance. And it's quite amazing to see what these ladies can do. Obviously, there are a whole load of benefits that accrue to the communities. Obviously, they now have light. They can pump water. They have better health outcomes because they're not breathing in the kerosene fumes. They have better education outcomes because the children and adults can work at night. Empowerment of women and girls. In most of the places in the world that we're working, this is very, very important. Environmental sustainability and, very importantly, too, livelihood development, which I will go on to talk a bit more about later. So basically what happens, they go from this is kerosene burning in Africa, to this. This is solar light in Latin America. Now, one of the things that the women are capable of doing and want to do when they go back is share what they've learned. And we teach them to teach others, whether it's the solar program or the Enrich program, which I'll come on to in a few minutes. Interestingly enough, before they go away, the grandsons, 18, 19-year-olds, it's just grandma. As soon as she comes back a trained engineer, it's these young men who are the first people who want to learn and who are there helping their grandmothers to do the installations within their communities. At the same time, we also have examples like this. This is the head man in a community in Togo, and he replaced his all-male advisory committee with his solar engineers because he thought so highly of them and what they were able to bring to his community once they had returned to him. Now, in order to leverage the solar program, we developed something called Enrich. And this is roughly 200 hours of seminars. Why did we do this? We wanted to build the women's aspirations as well as their knowledge and critical thinking. And basically, we looked at the areas that they were going to need. So if I highlight things such as financial inclusion, how do you make a budget? How do you access a bank account? Digital inclusion. As soon as the women arrive in Talonia, they are given a digital tablet, and we have programs there to help them color-coded pictures so that they can use that as part of their learning tools and for their ongoing business. Women's health, especially reproductive health, because again, until they take charge of themselves and their bodies, then they're not in the most advantageous position. And remembering that they go back with this to their families. And obviously, livelihood development is a very important piece here as well. Now, we develop this with, and are continuing to develop this with, this is a fairly new program. We piloted it in Zanzibar in June to December 2015, rolled it out in India last year, and we're now looking at the potential to roll this out into the communities in 3 states in India as a pilot. And as I've already mentioned, every woman is trained to train others. Now, as far as the livelihood development is concerned, we try to help and train them in skills that are going to work in the parts of the world they come from. This is actually a lady in Talonia who's building a solar cooker. We also have other things such as beekeeping, coffee production. We're looking at cocoa and organic botanicals. If I take the example here of the beekeeping, again, this was something that we piloted in Zanzibar. We had the first crop last June of mango honey, mangrove honey, and clover honey, which was sold out to the hotels in the island within days. And we had women literally queuing out of the door, waiting, wanting to be trained as beekeepers. So this is the sort of impact that we're trying to have. Another initiative that we have at the moment that we're just about to start piloting again in India is home solar systems. So part of the Enrich enterprise development piece, we're going to be marketing this under something through the women entrepreneurs, something called Bindi. Now, obviously, if we're going to scale this impact, we can't do it with just one college in India. In 2008, we were in 4 countries outside of India. Today, we're in 84. We've trained over 1,100 solar engineers. We've been able to directly impact lives of over 500,000 people. In sub-Saharan Africa, we're opening regional training centers. We already have one open in Zanzibar. We're opening in Mozambique. We're opening in Liberia, Burkina Faso, and Senegal. In the rest of the world, Guatemala for Latin America, Myanmar for Southeast Asia, and Fiji for the Pacific Islands. And another one of our initiatives at the moment, we're looking at the digital divide. You and I in this room can press a button and we have access to limitless information. Not necessarily the case in the developing world. If we look at what's required, first of all, power. And yes, we have that power platform. That's 80% of the requirement. Secondly, next barrier to entry is connectivity. And we're working on that at the moment. Because if we can connect cheaply and easily, that then allows us to develop killer content. And if I just take 3 examples here of what we could do. So take health, for instance. So a pregnant woman, if you could put a band on her wrist which monitored her heart rate, her blood oxygenation, and this information was sent a couple of times or even once a day to the clinic, which is 30, 50, 80 kilometers away, then you're going to be able to monitor her health very easily. If we take the example of education, as we've heard from fellow speakers earlier today, you can learn certain things, especially in from maths. So take calculus, for instance. You can probably learn calculus better on the internet than 98, 99% of teachers can actually teach it. So what great difference does that make? And then you have the connection to the digital economy, the commerce piece. So for instance, if you're a baobab farmer in southern Africa and you have your crop, what do you do with it? You may very well sell it to the man in the next village who has a truck who can take it to market. But if you have access to the web, then the world's your oyster. Yep, which is perfect because that is pretty much what I wanted to say. So I've told you a little bit about us, literally just touched the surface. There's a lot more than you've heard today. I've told you about our unique education process with the solar mamas, the solar engineers. I've told you how we do it. I've told you at the impact that we're trying to create on a global basis. And my request to everyone in this room, whether you be an NGO, whether you be a business, is that we're in this together, we need to work together, and we would be delighted to talk to any of you who are interested in working with us. Thank you very much.